everything you're saying now.
Right, here we are. So, yes, well, we've had a lot happen in recent days. I'll start there. In fact, even today with the Supreme Court, making finally putting out their decision. And, first thing to say is that, I mean, on the most negative part of the decision, to my mind, is that it's such a naked, obvious delay tactic, right? Because what in the hell? I mean, this could have been said. In fact, Jack Smith asked for this last year, knowing that they were trying to, that Trump was trying to delay. If they were honest people, a week later, they come out and they say what they said today, which is
Yeah.
a president should not be held liable for official acts, because I know there are a lot of people on MSNBC and different places saying this is a terrible ruling. That it's not a terrible ruling, in that if you don't have immunity for your official acts, then any president, that this could have been Obama, they could have gone after him for Fast and Furious, for sending drones to attack pirates. You can't do anything, because then your opponent can just say, well, look, he broke the law. So it becomes totally political. So there is truth in having something like that be there, but then you have to decide what are official acts. This is where Trump will say, I can be at the Capitol inciting an insurrection. That's an official act. No, that's not an official act, and that's what has to be fought over in court. Are you telling me that it's an official act to call the Secretary of State in Florida, in Georgia, and say,
Yeah,
"Hey,
they didn't
just
say
give me
that.
the votes"? That obviously is not an official act. But then what happens is that our legal system is such that that'll go to court, and they're going to get into a big fight about it, and it's going to delay some more. And that's the problem, right? Because what Trump wanted here really was delay, so that he could be, in his mind, if I win the election, I can make it all go away. Question is, does he win the election? I say no.
I
So,
say no.
that's the whole point. But then, see, this is the thing. People, in a way, are never happy. So, fast forward now, and we're in December, and Biden is one, and of course, Trump will be complaining and so forth. And then you won't be happy with how fast it's progressing to bring Trump to account, because it takes a long time, because he has lawyers that are going to be saying, well, that's really official. And, well, what about this? What about that? He said that they should do it peacefully. And then the prosecution will say, no, he didn't. He said, fight like hell. You got to argue about it. I don't know what to tell you, right? That's where it's complicated, and it takes quite a while. And it's frustrating. Yeah, I know. Totally frustrating.
And unfortunately, that might be the trial that I saw before the election, but it's not really a trial.
Oh, you
Information
mean
comes out. Yeah, we won't be prosecuted based on their mock trial, Judge Chunkin, whatever.
Chutkan, yeah, Judge Chutkan, yeah,
Yeah.
Tanya Chutkan, yeah.
But
I
I'm
mean,
going to tell you guys something. I'm sick and tired of MSNBC jumping off the ledge every time with that debate. And actually that our president, if you look at what he said, it was excellent, but he was dragging.
yeah,
And
it's the delivery. I mean, in politics, the delivery makes all the difference.
and so what did Trump do? He delivered all his lies and nonsense. He delivered it just like a showman. But that
Yes,
doesn't mean he's better. That means he's worse.
no. By the way, the only way the only way that this is either true or not true is, even though people, they hate polls, they always say, which is true. You get polls all over the map, but the average of polls does tell you pretty close to what's going on. They're going to run internal polls and look at serious polls. If this took a chunk out of Biden, you'll see it. You'll start to
He
notice.
did.
Well, if it didn't, then what reason does Biden have to quit? None. Even though, okay, then we're all kind of looking now. We're going, okay, so Joe, so don't quit. But do you admit that I'm thinking you're going to debate in September, and I'm thinking, really, you get scared
No,
because you
it's
think,
gonna be okay. Listen, he said from now on, when I go to debate, I'm gonna go as Joe Biden. They put too much information on him. And
yes,
all those people just cluttered him with statistics.
right. Well, this, I mean, if I look at September and compare it to now, the one thing that's true is just that there are other things going on in that region which are pretty threatening. But it is better, because what got him here was the Saturn. Anytime you get planetary station and someone is in any way accused of some old age thing, Saturn's the ruler of time, that's the one, right? So in September, not even close to it's moved away. In fact, one of the things that we saw back in the State of the Union period was that he was under Saturn before that, and then he did the State of the Union, and people stopped talking about it for quite a while, but it returned now in June, July, because Saturn is too close. By then it's moved. The problem is that he has this other thing to get through, and I just don't know. This is what has me a little bit spooked. Maybe you can chime in and you tell me what you see.
Joe Biden is going to win his second term.
So, like you see him.
It's not about presentation. He's going to win his second term.
Right. So you see, in other words, you can say with confidence that he's there at the finish line. Because if he is, which I also said, if Joe Biden gets into the late fall period and going into November, when you compare his chart to Trump's, he wins. He's got a better chart. That's the bottom line.
Yes, people. What happened was this guy, this Orange Menace, assaulted our grandfather. So what's happened is people who didn't even donate to Biden because they weren't thinking about it or worried, all of a sudden they're paying attention now. Now this one guy wrote he just sent $2,500 to Biden. And this is why, but when I looked psychically at Trump after this, he was furious. And I thought he won. So why is he he's mad because Biden is bringing in double the amount of money he's bringing in, and his polls going up, not by a landslide, but at least by a point.
Yeah, no. And by the way, that's another thing too, that ironically it's in the astrology too, because the one thing that Biden has is he has a separate cycle because right now we're on a Saturn, Neptune stations, right? So Saturn station, it's hard on practically everyone. It's especially when you're on the wrong side of the issue, whatever. But the other station is really good for Biden, and that one always protects your popularity, which is the key in this situation, right? Because it protects it's the idea that what you're saying, the base responds, no, let's back this guy. Yeah. So, Trump has something coming in here in these next 2 weeks. There's no way he dodges this without something that he really dislikes, because
what were you saying? Define. What are you
Well, okay, you tell me. I mean, there's a sentencing coming up in July 11th, so that's alone it. I mean, how do you dodge that? There's no way that turns out the way he wants. And it fits too neatly with the fact that days after that, the convention, Republican convention starts, and that convention to me looks wild because of the Mars-Uranus conjunction that is affecting him. He's going to be, throwing all kinds of stuff around. There's threats of violence, you name it, right? But why would he be doing that? In part, it's because he's not going to be happy with what he said, right? So all these things are in play, and yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, yeah, what can I tell you? I wish it could be easier, Yeah, but it isn't.
Well, I wanted. Have you looked at Jack Smith lately?
Yeah, remember that I said Jack Smith, but I don't know what it is exactly. But Jack Smith, his good moment is in about a month from now, like toward the end of the month and into the August. That's a point that's really strong. But I don't know what I'm
they
assuming.
Might be able to do Chutkin's.
Maybe
it's not a real trial, but they might be able to present all kinds of evidence. Whether the Congress or the SCOTUS thought it was but here's what I got. I got a very good hit on Jack Smith, like he's at a drawing board and he's showing everybody what needs to happen. And then I saw President Biden this time, because President Biden's already come out with a comment about this. He didn't think it was right and even Justice Thomas is upset because he couldn't get the whole Supreme Court, just like with Nixon. It's political. It's not based on the Constitution. It's political. So what I saw Biden saying is, okay, I get another term in office. He might even announce it while he's on the trail. I'm going to switch out. I'm going to add 2 more justices. And I think he'll go with Senator Sheldon by having these people come and talk to the Senate and tell them where they got all their money and why did they lie to the Senate. See, they can't do that now because they're too much. They have too many Republicans. But that's going to change, and they'll be able to move you can take your seatbelt off and move about. So I'm really, what my feeling was, just like that hit I got of the top brass while Trump was in office, sitting around a table saying, we've got to make sure he doesn't have the ability to nuke, give him fake ones or whatever. But they felt he was an imminent danger to the United States of America. And that was true.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. Yeah. So
I'm going to tell you, Biden's going to win again, and Biden's going to take it back to the Senate and to Congress. Congress does the money for them. They think they're getting away with something. Wait till you see what happens.
yeah, well, I mean, look, and we also know that's the way the system works. The presidency is what they so want because the president has a lot of power, even if they can't. They do executive orders, the court pulls it back and whatnot. It's still, the presidency is key. And so if Biden wins the election, then that changes the immediately. It makes it a totally different game, including that, then Trump has no way to get out of his problems, right? He has to.
No. But he's also going to give that SCOTUS a what for? He's
Well,
going to just add 2 people in, and I do see a hearing, especially with Kavanaugh. Way back when I was in Oklahoma and Kavanaugh was up and people were begging me, look, Linda, look, see if he's going to go. And I said, you guys, I'm so sorry. I saw him in the robe sitting down. But then I saw someone take their hand on his shoulder and tell him he had to go. And I'm sorry I didn't think it'd take this long. Because don't forget, Christopher Wray followed Trump's input where he wasn't supposed to look up any of the other people that had complained to the FBI. All that was just tossed out the window. So he wasn't investigated properly.
Yeah, no, there's no question. I mean, we've lived through a period where there was, a total farce around, the way it's gone. So Supreme Court, the only thing that with the Supreme Court is that for Biden or anyone to make a move like that, they need to kill the filibuster, assuming they have control of the Senate. There's no way they're going to get 67 Democratic votes. And
don't say never.
Well,
they're going to do something that they can turn around and have hearings on these people. They don't need a total consent for that, right? They can have hearings.
No, hearings are fine, but for you to add, when you make a move legislatively to add judges or do something where Republicans will say no, so the only way you can do it is by saying, we're going to do it because we have the majority, which is 52 or 53. There's no pathway that I know of for you to tell me, unless, well, if you tell me this, okay, but thinking we're going to have 67 senators, we had 60 when Obama got elected, and that was the highest, and even then, it was really close around getting the healthcare passed or whatnot.
Here's the other thing. Trump loses again. So what are they standing up for? What is the Republicans standing up for when he loses again?
Oh no, then we don't know. They're going to have to change gears or not. The thing is,
pretend like they're more open to suggestions.
Yeah, well, yeah, that would be good. Sure. But the thing is, though, do you see though that things are like totally easy, peaceful? Because to me that feels a little bit. my feeling is that at least at first, the MAGA people, the whole MAGA situation.
Oh no, there'll be trouble for sure. No, people are going to show their rear, but it's not going to be civil war.
No, but it's more. What I'm saying is the logic that the Republican Party in the near term will continue to oppose heavily everything that Democrats want to do, which means
that's a given.
Yeah, exactly. So that means to get anything done, if you are serious, for example, if you don't have over 60 votes, which is what is needed for the, according to the current rules, right? If you don't have over 60 votes, then unless you explode the filibuster, you can't really pass any legislation. This was the amazing thing about Biden, how much he's done by, the amount of hampering issue he has, the way the Senate is working. He's so hampered. It's amazing that he's passed so many things. But there'll be things like, for instance, the women's rights issues. There's no way that they'll agree. The Republicans will say, we're not voting for that. So you have to say, well, then we're going to kill the filibuster and we're passing it anyway. Too bad for you. But then the reason they don't do that, that's always McConnell's threat. If you do that, and when we get elected, we'll do it to you. So you'll go back and forth,
Well,
Yeah. So, I mean,
I
that
think
could
this
happen.
time they're not going to go with McConnell's threats. I'm telling you.
Hmm.
I can only tell you what I've been seeing, and I can tell you that Biden, at least those first 2 years, is going to just really change a lot of things. And I saw crowds and crowds of protesters marching for the sake of women's rights, like the pink hat thing that happened when Trump got in.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands, or as Trump likes to say, billions and millions and thousands of people are coming through over the border, and billions and millions of people are killing. It's like, geez, I never heard. I
Yeah.
never heard about that.
Although Biden went up them by saying he talked about trillions, and then he goes, "Oh no, it's billions." I mean, poor Joe. But yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Well, that issue, by the way, that issue, I've always said that based on Kamala's chart, that she's going to start really pounding on it and becoming more and more public, and that issue alone makes this election very, very complicated for the Republicans. No matter what Biden does, it doesn't matter because whoever's there, right, is
Right.
has a big advantage based on the way women are feeling and bringing the topic front and center. That's what was most frustrating about the debate, that Joe was not up to, dealing with the things that he said. Like at one point he said, Democrats are murdering babies. That's where you ask a question and you say, are you mentally ill? I mean, what are you talking about? You're telling us that murder is being committed where? You guys just make things up, right? You're the make things up guy.
Just a
Yeah, no,
blatant
exactly,
don't believe
exactly.
them. Like they did about Pizzagate. They believed that Hillary was eating babies.
Yeah, no, I know. It's just like so bizarro that it merits a response, and that's what didn't happen. But you yourself said it. If you're getting a good response from the base, like people are backing Biden, they're sticking with him. So then that means really it's the most dangerous thing that the Democrats are dealing with isn't even Trump, is that there are people on the Democratic side that are, for instance, saying, I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden because of Gaza. Well, what do you want him to do, right? If Joe, I wish you could just say it politically. Here's my problem. The people that are upset with me, they're less than the people that want me to do what I'm doing. So if you're a politician, what do? You got to make a choice. If he were to turn against Israel, he would lose even more votes.
Yeah.
So he's stuck, right? He's stuck in the middle. He's doing the best he can. At least, it's kind of like how he says, don't compare me to God, compare me to my opponent, right? So
Yeah.
you know that. What does Trump say about Israel? He says they should finish the job. He doesn't care at all about Palestine, right?
No,
So
he's got a tower being built right now in Saudi Arabia. He'd like to take some of that land in Gaza. His son-in-law is over there figuring out where they can build things. They're just crooked. And let me tell you something. What is it that's going to Pluto's going into Aquarius or something?
yeah, Pluto's going into Aquarius at the end of the year. For the next 20 years, it'll be in Aquarius.
Because we're going into a whole different generation now.
Oh yeah,
Where
no,
all
for
these
sure.
oligarchs are about ready to jump off the ship.
For sure, for sure. Like I continue to say that all the troubles that the world is experiencing, they're the dying embers of a movement that has no future. They don't know it yet, but they're gonna find out. Problem is to fill in the blanks perfectly. I don't know. It's like, how do I know that it's not a good thing for Russia, but I don't know what the mechanics are exactly. Probably that they have to compromise a lot more than they want to. I don't know, but it's going away from them, right? That's the logic.
So I want to tell people that are writing right now, they're saying, so what's up? Is the Dobbs, is the Chevron Act and all this stuff going to get overturned? I see it overturned. I see a new administration. I see new justices. I'm almost feeling Thomas goes out. Like, I don't know if he's sick or what.
He's the most likely, and I know that. Remember, we said in prior talks that Alito and Thomas they're the two that the new.
But I see
cycles.
that all this will be overturned.
Yeah, right. But see that what drives people nuts is that they may think, well, that's going to happen immediately. No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Even let's say that things happen, it might be within the first 2 years. But remember how long it took Obama to pass healthcare? It was it was close to the to 2010. I mean, it came in 2008. So now we're looking at 27, 26. You have to be patient.
Yeah.
It's just like when you look back, when you're looking at history and you're reading a book or you're watching a documentary, and they'll say, oh, the 2020s were like this and the 2030s were like that, or the 1920s and 1930s. Well, yeah, of course, now you're looking back, but when you were there, you got to grind it day by day, right? Can you imagine being in the late 30s when the war started and it lasted years? You would have been thinking, well, I don't know. Well, what if the Nazis bomb us or whatever? You have to get to the end of that. It's just how it is. It takes time, right? So, yeah.
Oh, you guys, I just want you to know that the Supreme Court is not God. And you remember there was a time that the Supreme Court considered blacks half a human. The reason we even got the electoral process, the electoral college, whatever it is,
Electoral.
is because the white slave owners thought they should have more points.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And women had no rights. Women couldn't even vote till about 100 years ago. So listen, things change.
They do. I mean, I could go to a totally different planet that, to me, ends up, in a way, dominating everything from the background, because it's not only really challenging Trump, it's that Eris planet. And that planet is chipping away because it's at odds with Pluto. That's why Pluto got thrown out. Back in 2005, they threw Pluto out. When you throw Pluto out, Pluto is the fascist, and Eris is the force of women moving in. So we're in this period where that's exactly what is happening, especially in the U.S., because in the U.S., there's a direct hit from that planet right now, challenging the government, basically. So this is what we've said before. What Trump is really doing without realizing it is raising the power of women. But that's something in history they'll look back and they'll go, well, yeah, that was in the 2020s and then the 2030s. But that they're not, the people writing it, they can't know how you were feeling when you were in the middle of it. It's very frustrating because you wanted to go, this is so obvious. Why don't they do it? Because the other side doesn't want it and they're fighting back. And by the way, that's democracy. Get used to it, because democracy is so constant battles and arguments. Move to Russia and find out what the other system is, and then you'll find out, right?
And people are frightened, and I can understand why, because they don't want to live in Russia. They don't want that kind of fascism.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And they're really fearing somebody like Trump in the Supreme Court could do that. But I'm telling you, they will not win. It's not going to happen. He's losing it. The other thing is he's a whack job. He's not even an orator like Hitler. He's just bullshitting.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's just that, you see, the frustrating part is that whether it's Kamala or Gavin Newsom or Adam Schiff, or in fact, Nancy Pelosi and Bernie are older than Biden, but they are more there. When you hear Nancy Pelosi talk, if Nancy Pelosi had been debating Trump, she would have called him out and said, what did you just say? Did I just hear you say that they're taking the black jobs? Let's talk about that. What are black jobs?
Yeah.
In other words, you put him on his heels really quickly. But Biden was not all there. That's the professional malpractice, that when you're doing a thing in front of 60 million people, this is a little bit like, it'd be like if you're an actor or an actress and you show up and you forget your lines. Well, then, people that came to see the play will go, what are you doing? You're supposed to be, doing your thing. So Biden that way missed a lot of chances because the guy served it up. He said at one point, did you hear him say? He said, "Oh no, well Putin had a dream of taking over Ukraine." Oh, let's talk about that. He had a dream, and you think this is a good idea? Tell us how that works, right? Because then you have to BS his way out of that.
Well, justice is coming. Look at Brazil, Bolsonaro.
Yeah, of course.
Not only did they say he can never run for president again, I think he'd escaped to Florida. But they got a new person in there, more of a Democratic person, then they'll live in happily ever after.
Well, right. But okay, see, let's talk about the counterpoint. What someone can say to you to say, okay, well, maybe you're being too optimistic. Look what happened in France. Macron, I had a feeling that would happen because I looked at his chart. It's the classic Jupiter overreach, he right away said, "Let's do this," and I thought, "Oh, this is doesn't look good." So then he lost
What
this.
happened?
Well, the far right parties are kind of taking over the what's the equivalent of their Senate and House, their system. But Macron comes up for the next. It's 2027. That's still a number of years away, right? So it would be like imagine you had Biden in charge, but with no Senate. Like what happened to Obama? Obama was neutered because he had no House and no Senate. So then it's really, really hard to pass anything. But that doesn't mean that you then win the election for the presidency, right? So at the moment, there are some counterpoints. Like in Europe, they're really upset. A lot of these countries, they're tilting to the right. Even Germany is doing a lot of this, right? So, but my feeling is that a lot of this is the dying of an approach, not the birth of the approach, right? We're not saying, oh, the next 20 years are going to be featuring fascists. No, it's the other way around. You're seeing it disappear, not grow, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's somebody wanted to know about Trudeau. Did you look at his chart?
I have not looked at Trudeau's recently, but I'll tell you that between Trudeau, like, okay, so, because then what they'll say then in Canada is, well, if Trudeau loses, then Canada is going to turn into a far right country. Extremely unlikely, in my opinion. No matter, because first of all, the politics in Canada are a lot more centrist than the American politics, right? So
Right.
you projecting into they're going to put some, and there may even be a guy there who is talking like that, but it's kind of like the woman in Italy, who she's on the far right and she's been towing the line, right? Because she has to, like, especially when your country is smaller, you can't get out of your lane and start to do that, something that is really wacko, they'll push you back. The US is the most dangerous because in the US, someone could do terrible damage. That's why in Europe they were even more upset than in America about Biden's debate, because they were just, oh, geez, like what the
I
hell,
know. Scared
they were
everybody.
worried, right? Because they know that Trump is going to mess with NATO. Trump is ready to help Putin. It's the truth.
He's
He's
not
there.
going to win, though. I mean, I know we'll
Yeah,
have to. I might as well go in my room and lock the door and wait
I
till
know,
tomorrow.
I know, I know. Yeah.
Because
No, for sure.
my purpose for my guys was you will help calm them down, and that's all I
Yeah.
can do. There's definitely, I've
Mhm.
often seen SCOTUS in big trouble.
And they deserve it.
And listen, someone wrote, Mark Brown, he said, will our legislators enforce the power they have regarding SCOTUS? In the Constitution, Article 3, Section 2 says SCOTUS does not have the final word. In an article of the Hartman Report on June 28, 2024 explains this. It's titled SCOTUS was never meant to be kings and queens.
Yeah, well, yes, the legislators have power, but they don't have power now. Not at the moment. You need both houses of Congress and the president. You can't do it without that because the
That's
other party will
that's why
oppose
I
you.
did
So
it that way. Yeah.
yeah, you got. Of course they do. Yeah, but the question is, uh, sooner or later. That's the logic, right? These things always happen, but they're not going to happen on your timeline, right? Like
Right.
how you said about uh, returning the rights to women. I said a few years ago that I thought it might be 5 years. Well, that was 2021 or 2022, whenever it happened, and people were upset. Oh, you're so negative.
That's not going to happen fast now.
Here we are, right? And by the time they get it done, oh, Jesus, we had to spend all these years. Yeah, I know. That's the problem.
But not only is it this, but don't worry, Trump is a has-been. I'm not even, whether he goes to trial or not. And we got to have justice, but sometimes we have to drop those things and just focus on a good new generation of people in office. But anyway, what I want people to know is he's not going to win. And I want them to know that I see the Supreme Court having to answer for certain things. It's almost like things are going to start happening. But I also see them do one other thing, you guys. They might even take on in October something to do with gay marriage. And people are going to go, uh-oh, here we go. Because I feel like that now they're next, according to, what's his name, the upside down flag guy, The
Anita.
next project is to get rid of gay marriage.
Yeah, although if this recent rulings are any guidance, they would probably want to punt that, because if you make a ruling in October, that's a great way to hurt your own party. Like look what they did with that ruling that out of Utah or Idaho, somewhere in there. They made a ruling where they said, "Oh, we're not going to decide, but no, we're not taking away that right." But people said, "Oh, they're postponing. They'll do it later if Trump gets elected." But so in October, if you were to do something crazy like,
Well, I don't think they'll make the opinion. I think them just taking it is going to scare people.
oh, taking it, okay, yeah, well, no, but that's good. That's good for Democrats. That's
Yeah.
good. Taking the case means that then you can say, well,
Why are you
they're taking
even
the case. They're
considering?
taking the case.
Yeah.
If you're taking the case, then be careful, because they could act on it, and Republicans are not checking these guys. They're helping them to do even worse things, right? So yeah. This is the logic too, that a lot of times, like even Dobbs, you said this many times. You said how the fact that they did that is helpful to Democrats now in this election, right? So
Right.
the problem is all these women have suffered the consequences of that decision, true. But if it means getting reelected, you know what? You got to take it for the team. I'm sorry,
Right.
and then hope that because in the end, when these decisions are horrible like that one was, it just gets strengthened later. It comes in and it becomes a stronger thing. And I don't think it's too late. This ship has sailed long ago. They want to act like it's 1920. No, it's not 1920. It's the 2020s. Women have had the vote for 100 years.
Let go of Trump. Let go.
Yeah.
We're so busy making him our focus, and these MSNBC and all these people are making tons of money off of throwing this stuff out at us. At the end of the day, he's a nothing burger. Okay, he's nothing. He's not going to win as president again, and he will pay his just desserts.
Yeah, by the way, you could always flip everything to see the good side of something. So one side, if you say, okay, so now MSNBC, the New York Times, Washington Post, they're all saying Biden, too old, he's got to leave. Well, here's the thing, right? As long as Democrats stick with him, basically it makes Democrats more committed, even when they're scared. I think that people should be scared. If you're not scared, maybe you won't vote. That's what happened in 2016. People thought, but Trump, that guy's a fool. Why should I even vote? Look what happened, right? So I'm fine with
America
people.
hates women more than they hate men.
Yeah, because see, no matter what you and I say, by the way, if a person hears you say, well, this is what's going to happen, and then they don't think their vote is important, that's a really serious mistake, especially in a way, okay, let's say in my state, it doesn't matter as much, right? In your state, it doesn't matter at all, no matter what Trump says. But if you're living in Georgia, Arizona, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, you better go vote. You better go vote, because your vote is gold. It's really important. Or even North Carolina, Florida, right? So,
Yeah.
and then what I've said this many times, and I think it's totally true. You always try to win by the most amount possible, because that's how you get mandates. If you say, my vote, I'm going to give my vote to Jill Stein, that's not a good move. Politics is pick the less bad person. That's it. It's not complicated. Look at the pattern and go, who is the least bad? Because of course you'll have complaints. You'll say this guy's too old, too young, whatever. Who's the least worst? Pick him, right? Otherwise, you pick someone even worse who takes even more things away from you. Bad idea.
And then you got Trump, whose whole administration won't vote for him, including his vice president.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But see, this is the thing. The thing is that needed to be delivered clearly. Can you imagine Bernie with his big booming voice, billionaires, and if he had been saying, "Hey, man, you're a pathological liar, and nobody wants to work with you because you're a pathological liar." It's not complicated. Like, you can do a lot of damage in a debate like that if you are up for it. That was the part that I found, most kind of disappointing.
But there's a reason this happened. There's a reason why he flatlined. And I couldn't see the reason initially, but I feel like it's like nobody wants you to be mean to grandpa, because, he told CNN, you can't fact check me. Trump did, for obvious reasons. So, but I think Biden got stuck with those statistics and he started to, what does he have that problem with his speech?
Oh, the stuttering, yeah.
And it got worse and worse. He really, listen, I was at San Jose Improv and I bombed. And as I was bombing, I got stuck and couldn't hardly speak. So I understand that, but then I had a show at Tommy T's and I was fantastic.
Yeah, no, and yeah, you're totally right too. That particularly when, if I look at the confluence of all the patterns in Biden's chart, Trump's chart, but like what you said, I mean, if let's look at this, right? If this thing is by measurement is a tie, or even Biden is ahead a point, well, then what was the problem? There was no problem. Then you think, wow, maybe that was the way it's supposed to turn out. Great, I'm with you on that. There are, though, he's got to get through some stuff in the
Right.
later in the summer. That's what I don't know, because they are astrological health aspects. They are. If I told you they're not, then I'm making up stuff. And so, because he is older, and you have to get through that to get to the other side, so you can then get to the finish
What
line.
about Trump's chart?
No, Trump is continuously at risk all the time, like worse than Biden, right? Even though I know people will say, "Well, that's not what happened. Look how lively he was." I am nearly sure he was on coke in that debate. Nearly sure he was on something of an upper, because he was. Whenever you
His
see him
eyes were
speed,
dilated. His
and
eyes
he
were.
and he was speeding. Speeding is either amphetamines or coke. It's not a drug like Valium, where it calms you down. No, it's like an upper, so you're kind of overshooting. And he was talking fast, losing track of things, because he said three or four things that were really bad against himself, but Biden didn't bounce, right? But he said them. That's part of being too overstimulated, right? But it's continuous with him. It's constantly going on. So, but again, people will say, well, you keep saying this, and the only thing we've seen that reflects this is in the rallies. He's been heard to say really crazy things. His mind wanders. It's just that he was sharper than Biden at showing up for the debate, more awake, right? You kind of wonder if maybe Biden should have done that, but anyway, that's another story.
Well, I had a psychic flash and I saw Trump all beet red walking away off the stage. And then I told my guys, I thought you said Trump was going to walk away off the stage. And they said, look at the larger picture. So they were showing me basically that Trump's going to lose. He's going to be a bad loser and he's walking off the stage. But I thought it meant for that debate. Because at the end of the day, really, the debates, a lot of people have decided that because of this debate, they're not going to vote for Trump.
Yeah, well, that definitely can be the irony. Yeah, I don't quarrel with that, and that, by the way, fits the planets. It fits
Yeah.
the planets just as well, because the thing is, this station action right now is not good for Trump. It's not, and that's hard to get around in the astrology. When something is hard, it's hard. There's no way around it, and so something is there in the air for sure. But we already know that one of the reasons is that the upcoming sentencing. I don't know. I mean, maybe how does he get out of that? And
I
that
know.
looks really complicated to me, because he's put the judge in a really bad position. And you kind of wonder with these judges, by the way, how they're thinking, because I pray that Chutkin now is going to be doing. I bet you in her mind she's going to be thinking, well, if I call in Pence and Bill Barr and we start asking questions, they're going to say that I'm tilting the scales. But I mean, at what point do you say, well, I'm seeing the Supreme Court tilt the scales? Obviously, they're trying to help him. So, why not? Or what about Judge Cannon? She's doing it, totally obvious. She's delaying, like
She's a has-been.
she is. But
I'm sorry that they're not going to be able to come up with something that really takes down Trump like I see later. So, he's still kind of getting away, but not quite.
yeah, and the thing is, is that be careful when you think what the punishment for a person or the way things turn out. You want it to fit your idea of what that should be. But with a guy like this, if he doesn't win, trust me, that's enough. You'll see.
That's what I wanted to know. I know he's not going to win, but
That's enough. As soon as that happens, he's royally screwed. I mean, like for instance, I don't know if this is true. I know Sterling has said that he's going to end up in the Middle East and he's never going to come back. Well,
I'm sure he will.
okay, well, if that happens, that's pretty shameful. That's quite an ending, right? Can you imagine that? Where did your life end up? This is like, oh, he says Hitler, he had the crowds. Always ask, what happened to Hitler, Donald? What happened there? That's the outcome. So if your outcome is that you flee the country or even if you don't flee the country and you lose, you end up in court, none of that is good, right? So, but that takes time for it to happen. That's in his chart too, by the way. That's why I say what I say, that it's not going to end well. I've always said this. It's not going to end well.
But can I ask you about those, like Jim Jordan, all those people that were pro-Trump? What happens to SCOTUS and all those people that
Well,
try to change the
they
Constitution?
go with him. They go with him, but not every single one is going to be hit as hard. Like I think Jordan probably one of the hardest in the early part of that cycle, but don't expect every single one. It never works like that.
But I almost feel like when Jesus was being crucified and they were saying, weren't you with him? And they said, I don't know him. They denied him.
Well, yeah, but okay.
I feel people denying Trump.
Right, but there's a difference between, to give you an example, there's a difference between MTG and Matt Gaetz were actually helping him to the point that they said we need some pardons. Ted Cruz is just, a sleazebag who was rhetorically helping him. So you can't, Ted Cruz is enough of a lawyer. He's actually, in that sense, smart enough, much smarter than Giuliani, to know don't break the law, because if you break the law, you might be prosecuted. So, or Josh Hawley. These are people that you can call them immoral, but maybe they're not stupid enough to be completely illegal. So not everybody's going to be punished in the same way,
Right.
But it does damage you for sure to even be next to him and backing him and so forth. Yeah, for sure, because that's the way he is. I think Rick Wilson is totally right. Everything he touches dies. This guy is,
Oh, it's going to be terrible, you guys. So you focus on that. Don't focus on if justice isn't here right now. Don't
Yeah.
focus on that. But what
Yeah.
about Kamala? You said her chart looks really good.
No, her chart is good because Kamala has she's Gemini rising, and the Jupiter is moving, into a stronger and stronger position. Jupiter, when it's in your rising sign, is one of the best years in 12. That's when Obama and Bill Clinton were elected. Everybody likes you. So it would be great if Biden had that. Right now, he doesn't have that. So it's harder for him to find that kind of popularity, right? For her, it's great because she is carrying the most important issue. If she just work the women's issue, work it to the bone. That's what I'd be doing if I were her. Keep giving examples, bring in women who are real women that are telling you, look what just happened to me. They nearly killed me in such and such a state because the doctor said, I don't know if I can treat you because they might put me in jail. What kind of a country is this, that
I know.
this kind of thing is going on? She's got to play on that. And Kamala, I think, is very unfairly, perceived because, but by the way, that was another thing that Lara Trump, another another card. She was on Fox saying, this is the classic Republican line. She was saying, oh well, they just want to elect Biden so they can put Kamala in charge. Oh, I see. So like what you're saying is you don't want the black woman to be leading the country. So we're back again to this, the dog whistle that is really like a bullhorn, right? I would play on that as well and say, what does it matter? So you're voting for Biden, you're voting for Kamala. Yeah, that's true. But that's always true. Anytime there's a president, you always remember people are thinking, oh, well, if you elect John McCain, then Sarah Palin will be the VP. And that was pretty scary. So in that sense, it would be something that would play against you, right? Because McCain died in 2018. But, how do you know that he might have had a problem in 2014 and then she would have been the president, right?
Yeah.
Lord help us. So that's the whole logic of having a good VP is really helpful, right? And having a VP where the chart looks pretty good. It's not perfect though. You know who has a perfect chart? And this is really ironic, but the perfect chart, when the chart is perfect, the irony is that it's too perfect because it almost doesn't have enough pressure. And usually when you get put in these positions, you need some great angles and then a pressure point. Gavin Newsom, his chart, if you put him in there, he would win easily, right? The way
real?
his chart, it would be, but it's too good. Like there's not enough, you need almost like one hard thing to mirror all the insults he would get and all the kind of stuff. So to me, he feels like someone that in the like now late summer fall, he's going to be one of the best speakers for the Democratic Party. He's going to say a lot of really interesting things.
When
But
they talked about Biden being terrible and they had that gal that took Rachel Maddow's place Monday through Thursdays or Tuesdays through Fridays, he snarled at her. He said, you know what? We need to keep this man's back. Everything he's done for us. And do you know when it was time to end the thing, she even cowtailed a little bit. She was nervous. She said, well, thank you, Governor. And he just gave her this look. If looks could kill.
yeah, no, and by the way, I'm almost sure that Trump would have refused to debate Gavin Newsom because he knows. Now that's a dangerous thing to do. That's really, really dangerous. All he has to do is go look at what Newsom did to the Satan on and Fox carried that, and it was really a farce. I mean, the Satan was so disturbed, he started saying things like, "Oh, you're just one of those fast-talking politicians." Yeah, the problem is he talks fast and he has his facts, and he also knows what you're like, and he attacks you directly, and that's really rough. And I guarantee that if he had been on the debate stage with Trump pulling a stunt like that, he would have been confronted with everything, and it would have gone in a totally different direction.
So what do you think about Newsom running in 2028?
It can work, but it's not as good as now. Right now it's perfect. 2028 fits for a different reason, and actually does make more sense in that then it's more of a Saturn pinnacle, which is the peak of your career in that sense. But the Jupiter is better. Having the Jupiter up above like that, the way he has it now, finding his sun is,
Well,
choice.
we're gonna relax if we stop watching the news media and stop doing the editorials of even Midas Touch did sort of a they did not say he had full immunity, but they act like he has immunity over everything.
Yeah, and by the way, that's the thing that you've got to be able to, if you're going to watch media, you have to watch the media and try to figure out what the core message is, because you'll get points, counterpoints, and depending on who you're watching, they might be a little too optimistic. Midas Touch, they tend to be very good because they will tell you if there's a problem. Yeah,
But Chuck Rosenthal, he sat up there and he said, this is going to be okay. It's not as bad as you guys are saying. And everybody was on him. But he's saying, look at this way. And the way he said made so much sense. And the other thing is this SCOTUS is going to be challenged. The Supreme Court is going to be challenged.
Right, but you don't see them challenged before the election, do you? Because I don't see how that happens. No, that's the thing. So, I mean, this is the thing, right? That being true is great, but does that help everyone not be nervous between now and then? I don't know what to tell you. By the way, try to calm yourself down. Stay calm. Just, remain calm. We still have the better team. We have the better odds. These guys, the Republicans, are constantly in a 5% deficit. That's why they have so many problems winning the popular vote. They can never win the popular vote because there are more Democrats voting, and they do everything they can to stop Democrats from voting because of that. It's totally obvious, right? Whenever there's yeah, exactly. If there's voter fraud, anytime there's been voter fraud, it's been a Republican. You find one Democrat making a mistake every 5 years where they vote and they had a felony or something and they shouldn't have done it. But it's been years, they forgot. But then you see actual, crime being committed where there's a Republican somewhere doing it on purpose, trying to manipulate the thing, and they get caught, and yet they keep saying there's voter fraud.
They just caught some maggot in Arizona that was working for where they're going to do the voting. He stole a couple of the machines.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, that was what that Kraken woman was. Remember that she got caught?
Yeah.
They literally went there. But that's the thing too, though. I mean, for all the complaints we have, there have been a lot of charges and people have been brought to account in all kinds of places. And, like that Alex Jones guy is horrible, but he lost, he's lost a lot of money. He's believing. I saw him crying. What about Steve Bannon? Yep, yep, yep. Well, he's going to prison now. You know, some things are happening. It's not all horrible. But I agree. There's still this monster, you know, moving around who we've got to get rid of. Yeah, you know, and we get rid of him.
Even on his mic, you can hear him when he's talking on CNN, passing gas or pooping or something. You
Yeah.
can hear it. It's just
Yeah.
gross.
Yeah, no, it's totally. I mean, well, he's just a. Well, you know what? I mean, Biden was way too nice. This thing of like, you have the morals of an alley cat. No, I mean, you just say you're the worst scoundrel in history. Why do you think you were charged? Because you're a crook. You keep telling people, oh, this has never happened to anyone. Of course, because they're not crooks like you. This is what's amazing about this time. We get an effing crook, and then he wonders why they charge him. Because that's how the law works. You're a lawbreaker.
Well, he's so used to getting away with screwing people over. And the other thing, he can't even open up a charitable place.
Yeah, right.
He's a fraud.
He's a fraud. He's a total fraud. Of course, that's the thing. But he's figured out that in a media environment, if you talk fast and you know that thing, what do they call it? The ghibli that thing that method that you talk really fast. I think it's called the ghibli dash. I think it's you talk, and you throw so much spaghetti at the wall that it's hard to attack anything. Right? And that's where you need a person that's picks off just the key points. Like when he said black jobs. Oh, I like that one. Let's talk about that one. Or, you know, the other thing that he said, Putin had a dream. You know, let's talk about the dream. Or when he said, I didn't have sex with a porn star. Yeah, you did. You had sex with a porn star because 34 people, 34 counts against you, and they all decided after 8 hours that you did. So you did. Okay, stop talking. You did. And then he'd say, no, no, no. Yes, you did. Right? So, anyways.
I love it. But anyway, I have to go because I'm going to be on with Arthur at noon.
All right. Sounds good. Fun as always. We'll reconvene soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye. You guys calm down.